This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, where Alex and I will discuss everything there is to know in the world of sports. I'm Ben.
I'm the guy he mentioned.
I'm that guy that I introduced. I'm Ben.
Ben's back today.
And he is that guy that he introduced, Alex.
Ben's here.
I am back. Did you miss me yesterday?
Yeah, did you have fun learning? Ugh.
Yes. No.
Yes.
No. No, yes. No, it was a good day. I had a good day. So we are here on this 31st of August. It is crazy to think that this is the last day of August. We're already pretty much in September starting up.
But you know what that means, right?
That means we have a lot of great things.
Yeah.
We have another month. We're that much closer to 2017.
Oh, okay.
I know what you're talking about.
I'm going for like two things.
College and NFL football?
Mm-hmm. College starts this Saturday. Well, it started technically last Friday in that sense, but I mean, there's games, I think, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
We get into the thick of things this weekend. We have a lot of great matchups. Maybe we will even preview some of them on Friday's show.
Maybe you will.
Oh, yeah, huh? Because you will not be here.
That's my day to be absent.
So I will have to do that on Friday's show. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to tell you guys now. I will be previewing some of the top college football games from week one. We have an exciting week one now. Like, you know that there are 4 matchups of ranked teams in week one. That is the most since 1950 when the AP poll was initially released.
What games are you looking forward to more? Like, I have the Washington State game to watch. They're playing Portland State, I think. They always start against kind of smaller schools. You know, you make your own, you know how it is with college football. But
yeah, a lot of times they schedule like an easy opponent week one, maybe week two, kind of like a tune-up, a preseason game, if you might say, even though it does count.
I mean, as Washington State had a really weird year last year where they were ranked at one point. They won good games. You know, they beat Oregon. I went to the Cal game. They almost beat Cal and Jared Goff. They were in they missed a field goal to win the game. They were winning most of the game against Stanford on Halloween last year. They were in the UCLA game. You know, all these games, I was like, man, you know, they were right in it. But they lost to, they played Portland State last year. They lost to Portland State week one. So that was kind of bad. They play Eastern Washington week one. That's Eastern Washington is the school that Vernon Adams went to before he transferred to Oregon. Fun fact of the day for you there.
There you go. All right, but anyways, we're going to save all that interesting.
I was going to say also Alabama, USC. But
yeah, that's definitely a game I'm looking forward to as well. But we're going to obviously talk about that on Friday, or at least I will be, because we are going to lead you into the weekend with a lot of great college football. Really exciting weekend.
I think there's games tomorrow. Maybe we'll preview or talk about some of the games tomorrow.
There you go.
I think there's some.
There's always Thursday games.
At the very least, we're going to talk about the NFL games that are tomorrow, the last week of the preseason. And we'll talk about the one that's tonight really quickly later on in the show, too.
Yeah, so absolutely. Speaking of NFL, we're going to keep on that subject here in our first segment, talking about Teddy Bridgewater, Vikings quarterback. Had some unfortunate events happen to him yesterday during practice.
Yeah.
After that, we're going to be talking about Tim Tebow with his Major League Baseball workout in front of 28 Major League Baseball teams yesterday.
Okay.
Kind of had some mixed reviews, kind of break it down what his chances are. And then we're going to end the show talking really just updates on a lot of things. U.S. Open going on in tennis. We have some notable trades in baseball, some people possibly getting waived and then claimed by a different team, an unknown team that we know of. And then we have former Browns defensive end. He's got a new team, so get you updated on all that stuff.
But first, let's start with Teddy Bridgewater. So yesterday, unfortunately, Bridgewater went down, non-contact injury. You know, he was grasping his leg. It's been pretty much described as he was inside the pocket and fell down. Again, non-contact you never know exactly how and what or how it happened, but Bridgewater's never really displayed any issues with his legs or anything like that. But yeah, he suffered a complete Well, he suffered dislocated knee and then a complete torn ACL. They've determined there's no nerve or arterial damage, but that doesn't make it any. I mean, it makes it better. It really does, because you can really, if there's nerve damage in your legs, that can be really bad. But it is still, a complete torn ACL. Obviously, he's out for the year. One would imagine. He's 23 years old. He's a young kid, but no offense to Sean Hill.
That's their backup, but now, as it stands, the starter.
Yeah, I like Sean Hill. I liked him when he was to the Niners, but no offense to the dude. I forget how old he is, but
36.
36. Thank you. Yeah, I read it yesterday. No offense to him, but if he was going to be a starter, he would have been a starter already. So my question to you is: do you see them going out and getting a veteran quarterback?
It's possible. Sean Hill has been really an NFL journeyman. He put up a few good seasons or some good games with Detroit when Matthew Stafford had gone down. Mm-hmm. But he had a lot more weapons, obviously Calvin Johnson. Minnesota really a running juggernaut powerhouse with Adrian Peterson. I mean, if you look at Bridgewater's stats, his rookie year he threw for about 2,900 yards, 14 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Then last year he had about 3,200 yards, again 14 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Mm-hmm. So he's not putting up tremendous stats, but what's important was his completion percentage.
Yeah.
It's about 65%. Mm-hmm. So he's pretty accurate. When he came out of college from Louisville, he was known as the most NFL-ready guy, and he really sort of has excelled in that. He stepped in right away and been a leader, someone that you know what you're going to get out of him. Nothing special, but not necessarily the worst guy in the locker room. I think this injury for the Vikings was the worst injury they could have suffered, with the exception of Adrian Peterson. I think it's a big loss. This is a team that I thought were going to be in the playoffs again after their division crown last year. Without Teddy Bridgewater, I think it's going to be tough. You talked about veteran quarterbacks. I mean, there's really no one out there as it stands right now. I mean, we do have Zach Mettenberger. We do have there, really. Johnny Manziel, Tim Tebow. I'm just kidding. But there is a possibility of people getting cut. So we have our last roster cuts on Saturday. Mm-hmm. Who knows what the Broncos are going to do with Sanchez. If they do release him, they save about $4.5 million and a 7th-round pick. Maybe Colin Kaepernick gets cut from San Francisco. Maybe they trade for a Josh McCown from Cleveland. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're thinking more closed-minded. You got to think trades, too. Again, you said McCown. Kaepernick is an viable option, depending on when they do it. Geno Smith could be available. They have looked at he does not like being there, apparently. You have Christian Hackenberg and Bryce Petty there, and Petty's played well this, preseason. So if you choose to go in that direction, you could go Geno Smith. If E.J. Manuel is up for grabs, you have Cardale Jones behind Tyrod Taylor now. You can look at him. Tampa Bay has been pretty notably against the idea of trading Mike Glennon, but he's there. Mike Vick is still a free agent, and one thing he's always done in his career, I see you roll your eyes, I know, he's never had a marquee running back like Adrian Peterson. Turn around, hand the ball off, and throw the ball off play action. That makes him and Sanchez very good fits for this offense. And I said Mark Sanchez, yes. Who knows if he's going to get cut, if they can trade him. He's somebody who could fit right in. You have his best year with the Jets. There's a team that could run and a team that could suffocate you on defense, and that's what the Vikings kind of are. You know what I mean? They're not world beaters on the defense side of the ball, but they're good young defense. You have Anthony Barr there. You have young guys on the line. All they got to do, hand the ball off to arguably one of the best running backs in football. Hand the ball off to him, throw the play action, throw the the short intermediate stuff. You don't got to be, don't have to be the best quarterback in the world. So I think anybody, I wouldn't say Kaepernick. There's so much going on with him.
You don't see a reunion with Alex Boone?
Boone hates that guy.
It was a joke, I know.
Let alone,
because he was really outspoken about his whole stance on what he did with the national anthem.
I don't
and
even mean
so.
that, that going on, but I mean purely he doesn't look like he has much, much going on in terms of his skill right now. He's looking bad,
Yeah,
I can totally see it though. Not him. I mean any one of these quarterbacks I mentioned other than Kaepernick.
I think probably the Vikings will wait until at least after Saturday's deadline cut because I think if Mark Sanchez does get cut, I think that'd probably be the best case scenario for them. They wouldn't have to pay him much.
Yeah, why trade for somebody if they get cut? They'd have to finish paying his pretty decent sized salary.
And what you said makes a lot of sense because the Vikings, obviously, they dropped back 55% of the time last year to pass. That was the lowest in the NFL. Yeah. So they are going to run the ball. It's hard to sort of say, can Adrian Peterson really keep it up? He's going to be 31, 32 years old. But if you look at his past, over the past decade, he's been the best running back in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So, and really the most powerful. So they have a great offensive mind in Norv Turner there, one of the greatest offensive coaches really in the last few years. Mm-hmm. Really everything he's done over the time.
Skip his year in Cleveland, though.
Yeah, like I'm talking about just strictly as a coordinator, not necessarily a coach. But he's done a lot of great things. So I think they'll probably wait. I mean, if you're going into the season with Sean Hill, I don't feel too bad because he's been, like I said, an NFL journeyman. He knows the NFL. He knows the system. Mm-hmm. He's going to have to maybe do a little bit like Bridgewater did. 14 touchdown passes, I think that's really capable. You know what I mean? He's going to be running the ball a lot. They don't have too many weapons on offense. I'd say their best weapons are Stephon Diggs and Kyle Rudolph.
Charles Johnson, too. They have young, unknown receivers, but it's a solid core of young guys. Like, not any huge, standout receivers, but they're definitely good.
So what do you think are the Vikings' chances here? I mentioned going into the season before Bridgewater had gone down, I would say they would be a wild card team, a playoff team. I think now it's going to be a lot harder. I probably dropped them out of that list.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, so I was going to say also, it would make more sense to me if they waited till after the trade deadline for a quarterback because you're not going to trade for a quarterback that probably has anything more than a certain number in cap money and like a 1 year, maybe 2 year deal because you're expecting your franchise quarterback to be back next year in that sense. So cap, I would say Sanchez is going to get released. If not, he's got 1 year left on his deal. Then you can trade for him. Gino, I'm not sure how many years he has left on his. So on and so forth. You wouldn't trade for a guy like Colin Kaepernick because you're going to take that huge contract on.
Maybe they can somehow work it with the Niners where they pay a lot of that burden.
That was the thing with the Broncos, and obviously, LA looks smarter now because it doesn't look like Kaepernick has anything left in him right now. But that was their thing is they were refusing to do that.
And Kaepernick didn't want to take that money hit he would have in Denver, regardless of what the Niners do. If they cut him or keep him, and speaking of Kaepernick, they owe him about $12 million. So perhaps they still take that cut, maybe trade him, or even if they cut him, then he's a free agent. I think the Kaepernick to Minnesota thing makes sense because they could use a quarterback, but I don't see it happening. You mentioned the relationship with Alex Boone.
I don't see it happening purely based off of a lot of factors, but if a trade happened, I don't see the money working. I don't see a lot of stuff. And again, I don't see him as a very attractive trade
target.
Can't target just purely based off his abilities. But to answer your question about how I see them doing, I feel like it's really going to be based on what I think their quarterback position is going to do. If they keep Sean Hill or not, I still find it hard for them to make the playoffs, only because they're also in a pretty strong division. The Lions look better. The Packers are always good. Who knows about the Bears? But, it's a strong division. You have two teams that could win it with the Packers and the Lions, and then the Vikings, of course, won it last year. If you get a great running game from Peterson, and you see how the quarterback position goes, I'm interested to see how it itself goes. But that's really where it's going to stand, I think. You saw what happened with Romo last year, and I'm not saying that's a different example because at that point the team ran through him. They didn't have
a lot more of an established quarterback as well. So.
Yeah, I mean this year, they're 180 degrees in the other way in terms of you have a young guy at quarterback, you have a young running back, they can do stuff for them. But yeah, it sucks to hear about Bridgewater. I was surprised to hear he's never been a guy that really got injured except for he had a couple concussions last year. But, they have Sean Hill and they have a young quarterback named Joel Stavi. He's an undrafted guy, so remains to be seen what happens.
Yeah, the Vikings actually canceled practice after 25 minutes. There were reports that some players were throwing up on the sideline, so who knows how terrible.
Out of just pure.
Kind of like a terrible injury.
Yeah, I know it wasn't. Well, apparently it wasn't disgusting. No, they knew it was bad, but he canceled it. Zimmer said there was no way they were getting anything, constructive done that day.
So that shows you how obviously we haven't seen it, probably aren't going to, but it must have been pretty bad. Well, how often do you see a team totally cancel a practice because of an injury?
Well, ambulance showed up and stuff. I think it was more so everybody saw, everybody knew. I think it was really the whole. You're not going to get anything constructive done today. You just saw your quarterback go down in what looks like a really bad injury. That's all your mind's going to be on. You're not going to be in the moment. You're going to be there. So.
Yeah, Bridgewater, it was his left knee. The Vikings did make a statement saying that they do expect a full recovery, which is obviously a great thing. Mm-hmm. I'd say maybe 9 to 12 months. Who knows if he'll even be ready for the start of next season coming off this injury. A lot of times people are speeding up these ACLs pretty quickly. I look at Peterson, Todd Gurley.
Flacco tore his in week 12 or 13 last year, and he played in the preseason game last week.
Tyrann Mathieu as well, looking to come back after his second ACL tear. Mm-hmm. Todd Gurley going into his rookie year for the Rams did pretty well, coming off an ACL injury in Georgia. So
back in the day, tearing an ACL was like a career-ending injury. Now it's you like you said, you can come back from 2 of them, like Tyrann's going for. It's a shame though, but I'll be interested to see what goes on. Of course, we'll obviously update you on that as we get more information and so on and so forth. But we'll take our first break. We'll come back. We'll talk Tim Tebow news.
Tebow Mania.
Tebow Mania is back in the national spotlight, unfortunately. So we'll take a quick break. Be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, we're back here talking Tim Tebow now at the Golden State Media Concept Sports Podcast. So Tim Tebow held his tryout, 29-year-old, apparently now baseball star.
Hopeful.
Hopeful.
I wouldn't say star, but hopeful.
Held his tryout, for 28 in front of 28 Major League Baseball teams Tuesday in L.A. He flashed some powerful bat, and to say the least. It was very mixed reviews from people that have come out and spoken about it. The only 2 teams that didn't appear there, Ben, Chicago Cubs, they're fine, they're good, and the Oakland Athletics, who that's not how they do baseball.
I'm surprised the A's didn't go. It was in SoCal, just a trip down I-5.
That's not how they do baseball, man. They'll go get some no-name player, and then when he's good, they can't pay him. They'll just trade him for scraps. They'll trade him for a soda machine like Moneyball.
I'm just surprised it was, not quite a bit away, just SoCal. They might as well have sent someone out there. They just guess we're not interested.
Yeah, well, the most impressive thing I saw, besides the power, he throws it, like I say, he throws a baseball just like he throws a football.
It's literally exactly the same.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but not as much of an issue, I suppose. The thing that was, I guess, 2 things, but it's more so his size, that they were impressed about is not only is he looking much bigger, he's 255 pounds now, he ran the 60-yard dash in 6.70 seconds.
Yeah, he still has some of that speed that he displayed as a quarterback in college and in the NFL. So
yeah, and he hit well. Like I said, he hit with power. He smoked a few out. He hit some pretty big flies. He showed his ability to hit. He had a few line drives in a row, and like I said, a few homers as well. So he impressed people, to say the least. There's just mixed reviews. I'm not quite sure. If it's. They said he has the ability to do it, but is he going to get up there and in a successful height of baseball? Is it remains to be seen. The guy that's been pitching to Tebow in private workouts and stuff. His name is, I don't have his first name, but his last name is Aardsma.
David Aardsma.
Yeah, he said he quoted yesterday saying that that was the worst day. Today's the worst I've seen him. It looked like he was trying really hard, overswinging a bit. It's what you do when you've got 200 people and cameras everywhere, and you're the only guy there being watched.
Yeah, he kind of struggled, did Tebow, with the off-speed pitches, the curveballs, sliders, the changeup. Mm-hmm. He seemed really fooled by those. Maybe one of those guys who definitely doesn't have any trouble hitting like fastballs, stuff like that. Like you mentioned, he did hit a home run. He looked really good in batting practice. That's a lot different than game speed, though. Mm-hmm. So some other things that scouts were kind of critical of with Tebow is that he didn't really have much of a strong arm out there in left field. Seemed like a guy who struggled with his accuracy as well. Definitely a guy that's going to have to hit the cutoff man as opposed to just gunning it out and trying to get someone out at home plate, which I would say would kind of surprise me because with him being a quarterback, you'd think he would have a strong arm. Mm-hmm. Tebow wasn't really the most accurate guy in the NFL, but still, really. Being a quarterback, you have to be able to get the ball to your wide receiver. So with him struggling with accuracy, I found that kind of surprising.
Yeah, well, yeah. So he got a one scout graded him, gave him a 40, and below average 40 grade on his arm, which is the scale of 20 to 80. He caught everything that was hit to him, but I guess he had some footwork issues too. But I mean, at least he's at least he is not accurate. At least he's honest with himself about it. He says he does realize he's far away from the big leagues. He hopes to play in an instructional league in Arizona next month before heading into the winter league, perhaps even in Latin America. If he has to. So, my oh my.
I mean, there definitely were some positives, though. He, like you mentioned, he was somewhat hitting well. He maybe struggled with the off-speed stuff, but he can maybe try and get adjusted to that. He looks really chiseled in like really great shape.
Huge.
He ran the ball, I shouldn't say he ran the ball, but he ran well. So he has good speed. He can maybe cover ground in the outfield. Mm-hmm. So if he can just sort of get some of his mechanics, his fundamentals, his intangibles back, try and pick up the pace with the batting. Who knows? I mean, with it being mixed reviews, I guess you can say that's kind of a good thing. We didn't really expect much out of this. So if he's getting some people saying that they think they could have a possibility here, isn't that somewhat of a good thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's. I mean, if there's a possibility there, then that's a good thing, I suppose you could say.
So 28 teams.
Yeah.
Do you honestly expect a team to sign him to at least a minor league deal? Because he's not going to get a big league deal right away. He's going to go to the minors, if anything.
Of course not. Yeah, I mean, like he said, he even said he was going to do the instructional league, and he'll go play winter league, if he has to. But I don't know. I wasn't there to see his workout. I don't really know the skill in which he has. Personally, I'd rather see him go back to the NFL and play like fullback or something.
But he's already said he's not going to do that.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'd personally rather see that. But whatever, man. Somebody would sign you day one as a fullback if you really wanted to, and you'd make decent money instead of trying to achieve this. But, I mean, if that's what you want to do, then I'm not going to knock your desire to do so,
Yeah, he said that really ever since growing up, he had two passions in life, and that was playing quarterback and then playing baseball. So the quarterback one didn't really work out quite too well, so now he's turning over to baseball, obviously. I do expect someone to sign him. I really do. Solely off the fact that he's going to sell tickets.
Yeah, if he reaches one of their affiliates.
Right, if he can get to AA, I'll just start with AA. He's going to sell tickets. He's going to sort of draw in revenue towards your team, your minor league. He's going to get media coverage. Just look at what this garnished.
Yeah.
200 people here, cameras everywhere, live streamed all over the internet for just a baseball workout. You know what I mean? You don't see that.
No, I mean, you can think of, say, the Giants AA team, right? And I'm saying not that I want them to sign him or anything, but
they were there. Who knows?
Well, I'm saying their AA team is the Richmond Flying Squirrels, right? Richmond, I feel like, doesn't have much else going on,
Exactly.
in terms of professional sports. So, yeah, I mean, I could understand selling tickets, but it remains to be seen what happens, We'll see if more things come out from this workout, exactly how well he did. I mean, there was some video. He didn't look too bad, so it remains to be seen.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think someone will sign him purely off the ability to use him as marketing and advertising, sell tickets, draw revenue. As far as his baseball career, I mean, if he sort of had mixed reviews in just a workout, that kind of scares me because this is obviously not a game. It's not game speed. It's going to be the closest thing they can get him up to speed with the exception of playing a game. So if he wasn't really looking too good in it, had some fundamental issues, some fielding sort of mechanic issues, didn't really field much of a strong arm. Yeah, he might be able to run and he's in great shape, really powerful guy. But if he can't sort of catch up to the speed of the game, then what good is it?
I agree with you. I think the same. It takes to take it with a grain of salt these mixed reviews. We'll have to see how that goes.
I do think someone will sign him though, and one person already has signed him, and that's Adidas.
Adidas.
He has a deal with Adidas.
Well, look at that. If anything, he can wear some fancy Adidas cleats while he plays in the winter leagues.
There you go. He'll be the new spokesman of Adidas with James Harden and Kanye West and Aaron Rodgers.
Kanye West, Aaron Rodgers. You never see him do Adidas commercials.
It was a joke. So.
I don't think he does Adidas.
But he is sponsored by Adidas, so who knows? Maybe you'll see it down the road. He and Tebow together. Adidas in hand.
I could dig that.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think someone will sign Tebow, and we'll always have to keep you updated here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast on all things Tim Tebow and baseball, as we always do.
True. Okay, let's take our last break. We'll be back, and we'll do our quick roundabout of updates. There's so many things going on, so we'll give you the quick roundabout, and we'll head out of here for the day. So be right back at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. We're going to do a little round table of the kind of three big other news stories we didn't really have time to get to today. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with football, since it's been a common thread here. We're going to talk former Cleveland Brown and Raven at one point, defensive lineman Paul Kruger, who was released yesterday, the day before that, by the Browns, has been signed or is going to sign with the New Orleans Saints, a team that went out and they got Laurinaitis when he became a free agent, formerly the Rams. They have Cameron Jordan on the defensive line there. They have Nick Fairley now, I believe, on the defensive line there. Add a guy like Paul Kruger to a defense run by Dennis Allen, who needs to be better. They were 31st in total defense last year. I think it's a good addition. What do you think?
They were literally a historically bad defense last year. Paul Kruger has absolutely low risk, high reward. He's coming off of a few disappointing years in Cleveland. He signed that monster 5-year, $40 million deal there with the Browns.
Yeah.
Really, it seems like no one really works out with the Browns, so maybe he was just in a bad situation. Going over to the Saints, they definitely need an edge rusher. You mentioned Cameron Jordan. He's a good edge rusher. Now you pair him alongside Paul Kruger. Like I mentioned, they're a historically bad defense last year. They could use any help they can possibly garner. So.
Yeah, and they lost first-round pick Sheldon Rankins for this foreseeable future. So, yeah, I think it's a good signing.
Yeah, he's still got some value. He's 30 years old, which is sort of on that declining, but he still is good for a few more years. Low risk, high reward. So.
Yeah, I think he'll do good things for him. Okay, let's move to baseball. And we'll start with Coco Crisp.
Yeah, Coco Crisp, formerly of the A's, having a little reunion going back to the Cleveland Indians where he originally started. So the veteran outfielder is heading back, obviously, to the Cleveland Indians. The Associated Press first reported the deal Tuesday night, and they added that transaction will become official today. So Crisp is currently hitting .234 with 11 home runs, 47 RBIs, and 7 stolen bases, which is a solid sort of comeback year after he had a really injury-plagued last year where he only hit 175 and he only played 44 times. So for the Indians, I think this is a good deal. They can sort of use Crisp as a utility guy. He's still really good on the base pads. He's flashed some power. He's a switch hitter, so he's flashed some power from both sides of the plate the last couple of years with the A's. So now they can use him as sort of a utility guy, maybe a guy who can come in, steal some bases, be a pinch runner, maybe a DH or an outfielder, sort of help them get towards the postseason as they will probably be in it winning the division, I think. So
another team that is looking to be in the postseason, albeit wild card or winning the NL West, and that is the Dodgers. And they had, of course, dropped Yasiel Puig down to AAA where he has been playing. They also put him on revocable waivers this week, and he has been claimed by an unknown team. The Dodgers can try to work out a trade with this team, or they can decide to wait until the offseason where they can trade with everybody. So it's pretty crazy. What do you think is going to happen here?
I mean, I don't know. It seems like the popular trend is that they'll wait until the offseason to negotiate with everybody. We don't know who this team is. It really depends on what they're kind of offering for Puig. I think he still is a guy who has some sort of, I don't know how you put this, potential, some sort of value to a team. He really hasn't worked out quite well with the Dodgers the last couple of years, really since he broke into the majors that first year and the second year, he's gone on the decline since then. So I still think he has some potential, still relatively young. He seems to have realized that the reason he got sent down to the minors is solely on him. He's kind of taking it quite well, which is kind of surprising because you didn't really think from Yasiel Puig you would get that. Mm-hmm. So who knows? I do expect them to sort of wait until the offseason and work out a deal. I think you've seen the last of Puig with the Dodgers. I really do.
I agree with you there. Yeah, I think I don't think they'll get this trade done with whatever team this happens to be, but I think that he will be gone. He won't be a Dodger next season. I feel like it's crazy to think about, man.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have thought he would trade him on a heartbeat.
A guy who you looked at a couple years ago would say be the future of your franchise, now gone, just like that. It's quite a turn for the worse for Yasiel.
Yeah, it's true to say, man. It's too bad, but like you said, unfortunately, he's taking credit for it, but because he knows that he kind of did it to himself. But that's all we have for you guys today. Again, Ben and I are going to talk about a lot of stuff tomorrow. Real quick, keep in mind, tonight there is NFL football. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers-Washington game got moved to tonight because tomorrow in Tampa Bay there's supposed to be a lot of bad weather. So tonight, if you're a Tampa Bay or a Washington fan, it's the last action you have for your team until the regular season starts, so be excited. Tomorrow we'll talk about some of the games, of course, that will happen tomorrow night. Through the every game's tomorrow night, so through the last week, week 4 of the preseason. And we'll talk about everything else that's going to be relevant to, us here at the GSMC Sports Podcast, any college football, anything like that. And we'll, of course, update you guys tomorrow on the U.S. Open, getting into the second round there soon. We'll update you on anything and everything else that exists. But as always, you can listen to us on Spotify. I'm sorry, not Spotify, Wish. SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. You can also listen to us on YouTube if you search the GSMC Sports Podcast, as well as on Facebook. You can find the link to our website. So if you search Facebook, GSMC Podcast Network, and then you can find our shows, each by their name. And then our website, gsmcpodcast.com, is where you can find all of the shows in our portfolio. And don't forget, you can find Ben and I on Twitter at GSMC_sports. As always, I'm Alex.
I'm Ben, and I have some potentially good news for you, my friend.
I think I saw it, and I'm stoked.
So the Steelers and Antonio Brown are close to restructuring a deal. Should be announced shortly.
Yeah, rockstar. Well, I'm happy. All right, well, again, we love you guys. We'll see you next time. Be good. And Ben and I will be back tomorrow morning for a fresh batch. Well, excuse me. Actually, only I will be back tomorrow. Ben likes to abandon me. So
I don't like to. I have to.
I don't even know why I'm saying Ben and I, or we might do this or might do that. I'm going to do everything I said we're going to do. So all those games, Alex is doing them. So I'll see you tomorrow. Ben will be back on Friday. You guys stay classy out there. We will see you later.